Some anthropologists claim that horses do not exist in the fossil record of the Indian subcontinent before the so called Aryan invasion. Can you address this? Obviously, horses were an essential part of the chariot warfare described in Sanskrit texts. Why do they make this claim and how to refute it? This is an excellent question, sir. So yes, they do make this claim that there were no horses in India, and that's why it is the foreign Aryans who brought the horses from Central Asia. They brought the horses and chariots into India during the invasion, and that's why you have this reference to horses, etc. But they claim that before that, during the Harappan times, etc., there were no horses. The horses only came with the Aryan invaders of India. So that is the claim. So let me refute this claim. It's a very good question. Let me share an image. Okay, if you can see this. So this is an excerpt from a book called The History of Ancient India, Portraits of a Nation by Kamlesh Kapoor. So it describes clearly that there is the early evidence of horses in the Ganga and the Sapta Sindhava regions. Horses are described in the Vedas, we know that. Rig Veda verse, whatever, describes that the horse is having 34 ribs, 17 sets of ribs. And this is also true for the Arabian horse. The Arabian horse also has 17 sets of ribs, and the Arabian horse is known to have existed at least 10,000 years before today, at least. Okay. Now, the Central Asian horse has 36 ribs, which means 18 sets of ribs. Now, in India, fossil remains of the chivalric horse provides us with the archaeological proof of the fact that the Vedic horse is a native Indian breed. It has 17 sets of ribs, 34 ribs in total. Okay. And there is clear evidence of the horse bones, etc., in various Sapta Sindhu or Harappan archaeological sites such as Lothal, Kalibangan, Surkotda, Ropar in India, as well as in Mohenjo-daro in Pakistan. And horse remains, both domestic and the wild variety, have been found at places such as Koldewa and Mahagara in the interior of India, dating to before 6500 BCE. So there is clear evidence that horses existed in India way before the so-called Aryan invasion. And is as early as 1924, Sir John Marshall, the then Director General of the ASI, recorded the presence of the smaller variety of horse at the site of the excavation at Mohenjo-daro. So this concludes that it's surprising that this 80-year-old record is missing from all the books on the subject of the homeland of the Vedic Indians, right? So here's a different image. This is the upper image here, if you can see my mouse pointer, is a horse figurine from Lothal, which is in present-day Saurashtra or Kutch, Western India, which is a Harappan era site, archaeological site. And here you have an ancient chess set from the same region. Chess was invented in India during the Harappan or pre-Harappan era. So this is an ancient chess set with a horse. As you can see, this is a horse. It's a horse chess piece. So once again, you have evidence of the horse in India. This is that figurine in more detail. And now we have this inconvenient fact. This is the Bhimbekta Caves rock shelter in central India. This dates back from the Upper Paleolithic era, which starts around 50,000 BCE up to around 10,000 BCE. Now, human habitation has been known in this place for at least 100,000 years. And as you can see, this ancient rock art in India depicts horse riders. It's very clear. I mean, it's unmistakable that these are horse riders. Here is another one. This seems to be a scene that depicts a battle of some kind. People riding horses and holding javelins or spears. And here, once again, you have what's clearly a stallion or stallions. And these are ancient, very ancient paintings, right? So this is unmistakable, irrefutable evidence of the presence of horses in India thousands and thousands of years before today. And we have the evidence from the Harappan region in the Harappan sites such as Lothal, Mohenjo-daro, and even pre-Harappan sites, which means before this region became a proper civilization, an urban civilization. Before that, it was rural and it was like less developed. There is a so-called pre-Harappan phase that's around 8,000 years before today. So even in that time, you find horse remains. So it is incredible. It's very surprising that you have this sort of misinformation that is being spread in the name of scholarship, that there were no horses in India before the so-called Aryan invasion, which is supposed to have happened 3,500 years before today. Now, once again, according to their own logic, if there was an Aryan invasion 3,500 years ago, which came in from Central Asia, then why don't we have horses with 36 ribs in India? Why do we only have evidence of fossils of horses with 34 ribs in India? So this makes it very clear that this so-called academic and scholarly claim by all these eminent historians is a complete outright lie and fabrication. And this essentially puts to rest the entire horse argument in favor of the so-called Aryan invasion theory.